There's more to imagine when you listen. So let your imagination soar with Audible. Audible has audio titles from every genre that will inspire you to imagine new worlds, possibilities, and ways of thinking. As an Audible member, you get to choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog. Enjoy an exciting reawakening of a beloved classic with the Audible original, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. Produced by Academy Award-winning director Sam Mendes. Starring Ncuti Gatwa, Helena Bonham Carter, and Theo James. This adaptation breathes new life into a familiar tale. New members can try Audible free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500. That's audible.com/imagine or text IMAGINE to 500-500.
Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Welcome to How to Survive, the show that teaches you how to survive the stuff that can kill you.
Like the Santa Anas, or a scorpion bite, or the death of a parent.
Sad. And the stuff that just makes you wish you were dead.
Like stomach growls, or yogurt comedy.
I did not see that coming.
Or Barbra Streisand's perfume.
Oh my God. Play the theme song.
Play it.
Ground is shaking under our feet. Mountains on fire, flooding in the street. Can't breathe the air, can't fight the feeling. Gobbling down Xanax ain't the way to be dealing. Gotta do better than just getting high. We gotta stick together if we're gonna survive. Ooh, how to survive. Ooh, how to survive.
Hello.
Hi. Guys, here we are.
Here we are. So today is actually Halloween, even though when you're listening to this, it's a week after Halloween. So your bellies are aching from too much candy.
Oh, I hope you didn't get any razor blades.
Oh, I hope not.
That's not even a thing.
It never happened.
No.
Mm-mm. It was all a myth.
Yes, it was an urban legend.
Did your
old wives'
parents
tale.
react to it? Did they?
Do you want to think about that for a second, Danielle?
They were just like...
That was not a concern in our house.
I can see. My parents took all our candy and then gave us full-size candy, and it was not the same thing at all.
So they took your bags of candy and then gave you full-size candy bars that they got from the store.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound fun somehow.
It wasn't as fun. I mean, they let us trick-or-treat, but, you know, my mom is definitely one of those overreactors. And, I mean, I guess, I don't know, if I heard that was going around, would I react in a time before the internet where you just assumed what you heard on the news was true? You know? I had a harrowing experience this morning involving vitamins. So I just take 2 vitamins because doctors have told me.
Is it like
B12?
Okay.
And D3 or something like that. I don't know. I sunk your battleship.
The bones ones.
The bones ones. Exactly.
Yes.
The bones ones. So I get them at Whole Foods, and
Okay.
Whole Foods seems to change their brands every 2 seconds in terms of vitamins. So it's never I can't just look at the bottle and get the same one because
They market. They would like to change the colors.
It's not just that. It's just they have different brands of vitamins
Okay.
there. And anyway, so I get vegan vitamins because I don't want the horse hooves and the gel things. So usually that just means either a chewable or they make vegan, soft gels.
Yeah.
So I buy 2 new ones yesterday. They're both chewable. I get them home. I open them up this morning. They're the most repulsive thing I've ever had in my life.
Oh, no.
And I was like, so as I'm chewing it and like trying to get it down, one of them's really big. I'm like, this is so disgusting. can I return open vitamins? Like, vitamins aren't cheap. I mean, they were on sale, but still, they're not cheap. Like, can I return an open bottle? And then I'm like, what if I wrapped it in a piece of cheese? I'm treating myself like a dog.
A piece of cheese.
Like my own dog.
Oh, I thought you meant to return it.
No, I meant like
they would think that was the plastic.
Oh.
I'm like, what?
I'm like, can I trick myself into eating this vitamin if I just, like, I'm my own pet?
That's funny.
I want you to treat yourself and take it back.
I'm going to try to take them back. It's so gross.
You can. You just have to say, you changed your brand. This is terrible. I need to get a different one.
Really? Even though it's open?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
I mean, I know you can do that at Target. I know you can, like, stomp on, you know, a grapefruit and return it.
Yes.
And be like, sorry, I stomped on this grapefruit. But I didn't know if at Whole Foods they have a liberal return policy.
I don't know their policy, but I would just go in and say...
Gotta tell Jimmy not to throw away the trash because I threw away the receipt.
Well, you have it probably on your card anyway.
Yeah.
You just say... I think a lot of it has to do with language. You don't say, I don't know if I can return this, but you just say...
These taste like ass.
These are terrible.
I'm returning them.
The brand has changed.
Yeah.
I need a different one.
Oh, so revolting. I'd rather eat a whole cow hoof.
Listen, speaking of...
Yeah. Really? Speaking of?
Yeah, no, this is a segue.
Okay.
I found out that I am anemic again.
Oh, Kristine.
I know a lot of women are, apparently. It's not anything severe, but...
You have to take iron,
I have to take
right?
iron like I used to when I was pregnant. And so I, like you, wanted a chewable because I hate swallowing big vitamins.
Yeah.
And so I got some iron chewables. And...
Ugh.
They are disgusting.
I bet.
They're like raspberry flavor or whatever.
Right.
But then right at the end, it just literally tastes like you're eating blood.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You need to return these too.
It's so gross. Well, it's Rite Aid where you can really, you can take back an old tampon and be like, I used this and I didn't like it. And they're like, all right, just go get another box.
Just throw the bottle at their head.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you should return it. That's gross.
I mean,
I didn't know they were
vitamins.
chewable iron.
Yeah.
Can you just lick, a stairwell post or something?
I mean, just old pennies?
lamppost?
I don't know. I mean,
okay, copper.
I have been eating cheeseburgers once a week. You'd think
Right,
that would
so
be
you'd think
enough.
that would help,
But
right.
no, it's clearly that I am very iron deficient.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping if I eat some more iron, I will be less tired all the time.
Is it just in red meat? Iron? No, you can get it
I
from
think
leafy vegetables.
You can get
or
it from
something, can't you?
spinach and green and other green I don't know. I eat a lot of vegetables. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm a pretty healthy,
We're just broken.
we are broken inside and mentally and physically.
Yeah. All
There is
those.
no ways that we are not broken.
No, 100%.
List one way we are not broken. Can you?
Comedically.
Oh, ba-dum-bum.
Speaking of that,
Yes.
Kristine is dressed as Rhoda today for Halloween, and we got it right away.
You did. You know what? I was like, is there an older reference I can do than Mrs. Roper?
Right. She was dressed as Mrs. Roper for the bonus episode last night.
Turns out I could.
Yep.
I wanted to do something in a tribute to you and Garen.
That's so sweet.
Because you both love Rhoda,
yeah.
and I had never seen an episode. Still haven't. But last night I did watch a lot of clips, and I don't know why I'd be surprised. The jokes were so solid.
So good.
Do you guys want to hear the joke my kids said?
Yes.
In the car last night? So we taped a bonus episode last night, as our listeners who are in our Seek Shelter Patreon. I don't know.
It's so stupid. It should all be called Patreon.
We're just going to do that. Can we just do
You're
that?
the Patreons, and it's called Patreon.
Yeah, I can't say it 2 different ways, so it's all Patreon. They are very aware that I was drugged last night.
Oh, okay.
Against my will.
Right.
For the episode, so I had a driver, my husband.
Well, explain. I had
to have an
procedure.
MRI.
Right.
I'm very claustrophobic, so I had taken a drug. So I was driven here, and my husband and my kids picked me up. And when I got in the car, they were like, "Hey, do you want to hear a joke?" We read this on the back of our squeezy yogurt.
Okay.
What did one squirrel say to the other squirrel? I'm gonna nut all over you. And
Come on.
I'm like,
Come on.
that was on your squeezy yogurt?
Where did you get
I mean,
this
it
yogurt?
does.
Yeah.
It does look like. I mean, there is there is a correlation between
Yeah.
what squeezy yogurt looks like and that joke.
Yeah.
But
And then they were like, Mom, what does that even mean to nut all over you?
unbelievable.
And I think that was when I said, where'd you guys go when I was taping? I like just quickly.
How could that be? I feel like they heard it at the school and they're saying they saw it on a squeezy yogurt.
But they didn't have that look on their faces of like
devious.
trying to not burst into laughter, like when they were like, "Hey, Mom,
No,
what's a blowjob?"
no, I mean like they know it's bad, but they don't know what it means. And some kid told it to them, and they're saying they don't want to say that a kid told it to them, so they're saying that they got it from a squeezy
No,
yogurt.
I totally get you, but if that
Yeah,
were the case,
they would still be
They would be
smirking.
like,
Okay.
trying to not laugh. They just seriously seemed very like, what does that even mean?
Fuck. You got to write Yoplait or whatever that is.
I'm like, tell me the brand of squeezy yogurt you had.
Jesus. By the way, nothing grosser than I'm not saying your kids, but there are gross kids. You know how there just are gross kids?
Yeah.
Nothing worse than a gross kid eating a squeezy yogurt.
Or just squeezy yogurts.
Or just squeezy yogurts in general. So gross.
So gross.
So gross. I think we used to freeze them.
Yes, we did that too.
And that was more palatable.
We couldn't have them in the house really because my kids would just eat like 6 of them. We couldn't get them to stop eating them.
Oh, so
I'd be
they
like,
had
you
them
having
somewhere.
another squeezy yogurt? Stop.
So where do they get the squeezy yogurt from? See, I'm telling you, their story's falling apart.
I think school had them.
All right.
Maybe. I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't know. It's getting
Maybe
rough out
Sven
there.
put them up to it.
Oh,
This would be funny to say to your mom. Are we ready to get into today's topic or no?
yes,
We are?
I
Okay.
am so ready.
Okay, it's spooky.
What? It's okay if it is or isn't because it's not Halloween anymore.
No, how
Only
does-
in our hearts?
All right. Oh, in your hearts. Okay. How to survive losing your spouse.
Ooh, well, that's sad.
I know. Okay. I like that the URL for this is like gov/health/mourning-death-spouse. Okay. When your spouse dies, your world changes. You are in mourning, feeling grief and sorrow at the loss. You may feel numb, shocked, and fearful. You may feel guilty for being the one who is still alive.
Yeah.
At some point, you may even feel angry at your spouse for leaving you.
Sure.
All of these feelings are normal. There are no rules about how you should feel. There is no right or wrong way to mourn. I would say that's true just about in every case in mourning. When you grieve, you can feel both physical and emotional pain. People who are grieving often cry easily and can have trouble sleeping, little interest in food, problems with concentration, and a hard time making decisions. In addition to dealing with feelings of loss, you also may need to put your own life back together. This can be hard. Some people feel better sooner than they expect. Others may take longer.
Some people get married right away.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it seems so weird, but I think people just are in grieving and they're just like, I want to not think about this.
Right. As time passes, you may still miss your spouse, but for most people, the intense pain will lessen. There will be good and bad days. You will know you are feeling better when there are more good days than bad. You may feel guilty for laughing at a joke or enjoying a visit with a friend. It is important to understand this can be a common feeling. Finding a support system. There are many ways to grieve and learn to accept loss. Try not to ignore your grief. Support may be available until you can manage your grief on your own. Find buddies. Find grief buddies.
You could, join a support group, and that would, I think, be a good idea.
It is especially important to get help with your loss if you feel overwhelmed or very depressed by it. Family and compassionate friends can be great support. They are grieving too, and some people find that sharing memories is one way to help each other. For some people, mourning can go on so long that it becomes unhealthy. Okay, remember to take good care of yourself. You might know that grief affects how you feel emotionally, but you may not realize it can also have physical effects. The stress of death and your grief could even make you sick.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yep. Eat well, exercise, and get enough sleep, and get back to doing things you enjoy. When my brother died, I just drank Diet Coke and I ate chocolate croissants. That was
Really?
like all I ate. Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, I was there.
You were there, yeah.
I don't ever remember you eating a chocolate croissant, but you know what? Our backs were to each other, so maybe
That's right. I snuck it.
You were just-
I was eating it like a little
I didn't see that.
raccoon.
Yes.
Yeah. Your body goes into, like, also when I'm sick, I only want certain things. And when you're grieving, you also only want certain things. Like, you can't even, I've never been so sad about anything in my life that I stopped eating. Yeah. Like, not once. Yeah. But that was probably the closest. Like, I did get kind of a little dangerously thin, but just for like a month. You know? And then it was like, then I just looked at a piece of food and then I gained it back. Accept offers of help or companionship from friends and family. It's good for you and for them. If you have children, remember they are grieving too. It will take time for the whole family to adjust to life without your spouse. You may find that your relationship with your children and their relationship with each other have changed. Open, honest communication is important. This is interesting. What are the signs of complicated grief?
Complicated grief. Not simple grief.
It's long grief.
Yes.
You have to you have to show your work.
You have to carry over.
You have to carry over and you can't round. You have to give an exact number.
Yep. If it's over 50, you have to round up.
Yeah. Right. Complicated grief is a condition that occurs in about 7% of people who have recently lost a loved one. People with this condition may be unable to comprehend the loss, experience intense prolonged grief, and have trouble resuming their own life. Signs of complicated grief may include overly negative emotions, dramatically restricting your life to try to avoid places you went with the deceased, and being unable to find meaning or purpose in life. Complicated grief can be a serious condition, and those who have it may need additional help to overcome the loss. Support groups, professionals, and close loved ones can help comfort and support someone with this condition. Okay, this is probably, I would say, the most important thing. Make plans and be active.
Get out of the house.
Get the fuck out of Dodge.
You know what I'm going to say?
What?
Pickleball.
Right? Go to the desert and take drugs.
With some friends that you like.
With friends. Don't do it alone.
Eat a croissant.
Eat a croissant while playing pickleball.
On shrooms.
On shrooms?
Yep.
Oh. Now, would that make pickleball easier or harder? I'm guessing harder.
You were going to find it easier, but you're going to actually be playing worse.
You think you're
doing great.
Doing great.
Yeah.
And and then the film shows you that you're not even hitting the ball.
Yeah. It's like you think you just wrote the best screenplay you've ever written. You're like, this is gold. This is gold.
Yeah.
And then the next day you're just like, whoa, this doesn't even make sense.
Right. Yeah.
But you had an amazing time.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Right. After years of being part of a couple, it can be upsetting to be alone. Many people find it helps to do things every day, whether you are still working or retired. Write down your weekly plans. Okay, getting your legal and financial paperwork in order. When you feel stronger, you should think about getting your legal and financial affairs in order. For example, you might need to write a new will and update your advanced care planning. Look into a durable power of attorney for legal matters and health care in case you are unable to make your own medical decisions in the future. Put joint property such as a house or car in your name. Check on changes you might need to make your health insurance as well as to your life, car, and homeowner's insurance. Okay. Now we're going to talk about dating post-death.
Ooh.
Because I know that's what you're interested in, Kristine.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I've already set up all of my dating profiles.
Oh, that's good.
Just as like hot widow 26. Not to indicate my age. There's already 25 other hot widows.
Yeah.
On all of the accounts, just because I'm waiting.
Are you going to keep the picture that you have up now, no matter when this happens? Like, even if you're 65, you're going to keep the same picture you have now?
Well, right now the picture is of me as Rhoda, because I update it.
Oh, this morning.
It's constantly updated. To be ready.
Just in case any day he dies, you're going to just start.
I've noticed my husband, he's a little bit like Garen in the way that he treats his body.
Okay, not well.
Like the opposite of a temple. And so I figure he could just drop at any moment.
Okay.
And if you know anything about me, love men.
Yeah.
And can't wait to get into another long-term commitment.
There you go. Well, maybe you'll go back to ladies.
Who knows? Anything could happen.
Yeah, anything could happen.
I could, in my perfect world, just wear all purple, have a bunch of cats, and live in a cottage. That's all I'm thinking.
Sounds amazing.
I mean, I think this is already the look I think I want to be But just more scarves.
More scarves. You already have one around your head, but you could get one around your waist, one around your neck.
Yes.
You could wear one. Sometimes Rhoda just wore a weird diagonal scarf from shoulder to hip. It was not a good look.
I'm all about embracing not good looks.
You should, I've still yet to get rid of any of my mom's clothes, but the lady loved purple. So maybe you can come over and just take all the purple stuff because I ain't wearing it.
I'll take it. And I just want a lot of sun catchers and just give me the fucking, lady weird. I want to be that weird lady on your street.
Maybe macrame, some plant holders.
Oh, are you up? I'm making them. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm making my own macrame plant holders.
Yeah.
This sounds great.
I think you've got it planned. Okay, well, in case you're not like Kristine and you want to date after your spouse has died, here we go. Sometimes it seems as if the darkness will be perpetual, but one day you wake up and think to yourself, I don't want to live like this alone. I don't want to live this life alone. Perhaps the idea of dating again has found a spark. When you felt the little spark or even just the inklings of the spark, what are the best ways to get back in the saddle? Here is some advice. 1, know when you're ready. Does the thought of being on a date excite you or repulse you? Have you processed your grief enough to be able to enjoy another's company that could turn into romance? There is no right or wrong about when you'll be ready. I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Many people are ready months after the death of their partner. Yikes. And for others, it takes years. The most important thing is that you have this conversation with yourself and aren't trying to satisfy someone else's idea, like Danielle and Kristine's, of when you're ready or not. This decision should come from within, and it's subject to change if you find that you aren't ready just yet. It's also subject to change if you find a hot guy.
Yeah, who's like, I want to take you out.
Yeah.
Imagine, though, Danielle, for a second.
Yeah.
Imagine having to go on a date.
No, it's repulsive.
Like,
the idea is revolting.
I can't imagine. I mean, in my early 30s, when I did online dating, I was in my early 30s. I was a fucking baby.
Right.
I remember a guy saying to me, "You're aging so well."
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Okay, wait. I remember another guy saying to me, "I'm so glad you don't wear a lot of makeup like a lot of women your age." Can you fucking imagine what it could be like out there? This is in LA, okay, where it is really fucking bad to online date. Being, I don't know, 60, 70, and trying to go out with these dudes who, when I was 32, every one of them was like, my last girlfriend was a model. Like, they all think they should date models.
Right.
And they're all real average. Like I would be like, oh God.
Well, maybe in this scenario when you're wearing all purple and living in a cottage, you're like in Maine or something.
Yeah, I'm not in LA.
And you have maybe you do like a Misery and you like kidnap some dude. And he's just your life partner. You've kidnapped him. And you guys like play Scrabble and stuff. But he can't leave on threat of death. I'm just putting in other scenarios.
I mean, I enjoy the main part and maybe the torturing.
Okay.
But, you know, I like Scrabble.
Yeah, there you go. Know that it's okay to compare. Human beings compare everything. It's in our nature. You will compare new people to your old love, and that doesn't mean anything bad. It also doesn't mean that a new person won't measure up. In the beginning, you might compare them to your lost partner. Don't hold yourself to unreasonable standards and know that comparisons are more than okay. They're part of our DNA. Be open to new packages.
Whoa. Whoa. They might nut all over you.
Mom, what does new packages mean? Mom, what does a bulge in a pants mean? What is are you happy to, is that a gun in your pocket or are you just happy to see me? That's my impression of your kids. It's not very flattering. That's really just rude of me. Okay. Love usually comes in unexpected packages. Be open to people who are both similar to and different from your partner. Know that new love is possible and happens often, even when you think it can't ever be as good. Your best bet is to know that this new person will probably look, sound, and be different. And that's more than okay. Unless, of course, it's the ghost of your husband.
Or what about this? Listen to this.
Yeah.
You get their DNA, and like Barbara Streisand had her dog cloned.
That's right.
You have them cloned.
Do you think Barbara Streisand is also going to have James Brolin cloned?
Good question. I mean, he's
Why not?
handsome.
He's very handsome.
Right? And like, why would she want to go out and date again?
No.
But he's younger than she is, isn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I think she might.
She might have him cloned.
Or maybe
And then have a younger him. But wait, do you have to? Oh no, because then you have to wait for them to be a baby. Oh, no! Then you're raising your husband, who's like you're a baby.
No, she's got to figure out. Listen, if anyone can do it, it's Barbara Streisand.
Yeah.
Oh, if she
in that mall of hers,
if she combines forces with Dolly Parton,
yeah,
they could figure out how to clone James Brolin as a man clone. I think.
Why Dolly Parton?
You know, because she put the money in to clone a pig or something. Oh no, they just named it after her. But she.
Oh no, the sheep Dolly. Yeah.
But Dolly puts a lot of money in. She gave
the vaccine.
She put all that money in the vaccine. You know, she's giving books to all the kids and.
I don't think Barbara needs money.
No, but I mean, this is big. Cloning an adult
whole person into an
human,
adult.
I think you got to get some of Dolly's money in there, and
Okay.
maybe Taylor's a billionaire now. The three of them together,
for sure, they could do it.
They could do it. So
they just need to get rid of like Sephora or what's the old lady store? The clothing.
Ann Taylor?
Chico's.
The Chico's in the bottom of
her mall,
of Barbara's mall.
Is there a Chico's down there?
No, but you know how she has her whole.
Yes, I know about the mall.
Yeah, so
I think about it like once a week.
I just like to think that she also has like a Wetzel's Pretzels and an Orange Julius.
Do you think
Dippin' Dots?
Do you think just like the Americana, she's trading out some of those lower end stores for higher end? She's like, well, the Wetzel's has got to go for a Tiffany and Co.
Yeah, and she's constantly foreclosing on, or I don't know if that's the right word. She's constantly like kicking out old tenants who are herself, of course, for other properties.
Oh
like
my God.
there's been a GameStop that's
gone,
but it keeps coming back and then it's gone again.
It's a mathnasium now.
Yeah, it's a mathnasium.
She's gentrifying in her own basement.
Yeah. There's an Ann Taylor loft, not an Ann Taylor, an Ann Taylor loft. There's Baby Gap, and regular Gap, but no Kids Gap. So you're screwed.
There's Crew Cuts, but no J Crew.
Oh, what's Crew Cuts
for the kids?
Is that a real thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we would go in and look at the clearance once in a while for the kids, but never ever buy anything full price.
No,
what are we?
I don't buy full price anywhere.
Listen to me.
Not even vitamins?
What am I today with listen to me?
Listen to me.
Listen to me. It's kind of aggressive.
You're channeling Rhoda.
I don't care for it. Yeah, you know what? I think it's the headscarf.
Yeah, I think it is.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you think that anyone has ever had a normal conversation with Barbara Streisand in the last 60 years?
I mean, maybe her husband, maybe James Brolin. Not Josh. Josh hasn't ever.
No. Every time he leaves her house. Is he still married to Diane Lane? I think they're
Didn't
divorced.
he rough her up or something? I don't want to say that because I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I think they're divorced.
Imagine Josh Brolin with whoever he's married to leaving their house, leaving dinner, because they go for like a dinner. You have to be there.
Like once a
you
month.
better fucking be on time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you are not late to Babs.
Right.
And the conversation in the car.
Yeah.
Leaving that dinner. Oh, God, to be a fly in that car.
First of all, I know that if I walked in that house, I would immediately start sneezing because I bet you it's full of fucking flowers and her perfume.
And the dogs.
And
well, you're not allergic to dogs.
No, but just the scents. And I bet you she has scented candles at dinner, which you're not supposed to do, of course. I bet you I just feel like it's overly perfumed.
I bet she loves the smell of rose.
She loves the smell of rose. And she also likes rose in baking. And that is unacceptable.
Yeah, I can't. No, thank you.
Okay, I like Barbara talk.
Yes,
but let's get back to this.
We can have a Barb segment on every episode.
Be open to people who are older and younger.
Did a man write that?
It says
Meaning I'm older, you're younger?
Yes. As age is often just a number. As long as you feel at ease and safe with this person and attracted to them, you'll be in good shape. I don't know if I could date... I'm trying to think if I could date someone young. I guess I could. Date someone younger. It would be weird. Okay. Are you ready for a story by Katie Hawkins Gar?
Oh, Katie Hawkins Gar? Mm-hmm. Love her work.
Okay. It's called My Husband Died 4 months later, I started dating again.
Good on you, Katie, I guess.
You look just like my dead husband. The first message I ever sent on a dating app offered a pretty good indication of how unprepared I was to re-enter the dating world.
I'll say.
To my credit, the message was honest. To my match's credit, he handled it well. LOL, I don't know how to respond to that, he wrote, adding both a smiling and frowning emoji for good measure. On a lighter note, he added, how are you? It was a good question. I was just 4 months out from my husband's sudden and unexpected death. Jamie collapsed and died while running a half marathon. Half marathon. Not a full marathon.
Jamie.
Half marathon. Dude. Was not in good health.
He must have had a bad heart.
He was less than a mile from the finish line while I was where I was waiting for him. If I answered honestly, and also, you know, I've gone to watch Jimmy come across the finish line at marathons. It's a fucking pain in the ass to get there, to find parking, to find the finish line. Then you get there and you're like, what the fuck is keeping this guy?
He died.
Oh, he better have died.
And then he did.
Yeah. You're like, okay. If I answered honestly, I would have said I was heartbroken, devastated, and lost. I was desperate for a way to escape my pain, and I'd convinced myself that dating was the answer. Jamie and I met in college. We became fast friends, and after lots of persistence on his part, I eventually agreed to date him. It was the best decision I could have made. We got married at 23, adopted a dog, moved to new houses and states, and supported each other as we pursued various goals and dreams.
Aww.
I imagined us growing old together, not me becoming a widow at 31.
Oh my gosh, that's
kind of why you're like, okay, I get it that
she lost her bestie.
Yeah. Online dating offered the allure of a respite from grieving. Each light and flirtatious conversation was a fleeting attempt to numb all the dark and difficult emotions that haunted me. But I couldn't hide from my pain for long. I'd smile my way through a date at night, only to spend the following day crying about how hopeless everything seemed. Sometimes I'd cry with friends who tried their best to support me, even if they weren't entirely sure how to do that. More often than not, I cried alone. Things didn't work out with my dead husband's doppelganger. Nor did they last with the guy who got squeamish every time I brought up death. I tried seeing a Jamie who pronounced his name the same way my Jamie did.
Is there a different way? Jaime?
Jaime?
I mean, I thought maybe... Okay, so I read this twice and I was like, well, surely she should have said in parentheses what the pronunciation was if it wasn't just Jamie.
I don't know that there's any other way.
There's Jaime.
But that's usually spelled...
Is it?
Isn't that usually spelled Jaime with like an accent on it anyway?
I don't know. It was just weird.
It's
Jaime.
No idea.
Basically, she's like, whoa, you have the same name as... I don't know.
Okay.
That was weird too. No, it really wasn't. Jamie's a very common name. I went on dates with a lawyer, a sculptor, and an adjunct professor. I even tried a long-distance romance with a widower whose wife had died just a month before Jamie did. He killed her, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That had promise, but there was ultimately too much sadness between the two of us and a trial.
Yes. Yeah.
Trial.
God, she really left
arraignment.
She left the interesting stuff out.
The truth is that I wasn't that emotionally invested in whether or not those relationships worked out. I was too heartbroken for that. I told myself that none of these men could compare to Jamie or Jaime, that I'd never be as happy as I once was. All of this, of course, was unfair to my companions, except for the murderer. I considered dating a distraction from the present, not a promise for the future. Then I met Billy.
Billy,
don't you lose that? Nah, that's not right. Billy and I met at a talk I gave about, wait for it, losing Jamie.
It's a great way to pick up women.
Oof. Now listen to this. He was performing music at the same event. So what the fuck is this event? Talk about your dead spouse and here's some guitar rock.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems depressing. And we connected online afterward as friends. I was a few weeks away from the 1-year anniversary of Jamie's death, and Billy, unbeknownst to both of us, was a few months away from divorce.
Yeah, because he met her.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Kismet or
dark undertones
Yeah, I know.
to this story.
As we worked through our individual losses, we would share bits and pieces of our pain online. We commented on each other's Instagram stories, noting how much we appreciated someone else being vulnerable instead of posting only the surface level feel-good things that tend to populate social media. Eventually, we decided to meet for coffee. The coffee date led to a long...
Is Billy divorced yet?
Well, he was a few months away when they met, so I guess.
Okay.
The coffee date led to a long walk, which led to a second date, which led to a third date, which led to our first kiss. We took things slow and frequently checked in to make sure we both felt comfortable.
And he was divorced.
And he was, and the ink was
And the
dry.
papers were
Yeah.
finalized.
As our relationship progressed, we were forced to face a difficult truth. Opening our hearts to someone new meant opening ourselves to the possibility of loss all over again. Billy and I have been partners for more than a year now. We lived together in the house that Jamie and I once lived in.
What?
That doesn't sound good, right? That I was trying to picture it when I
Yeah.
read that. I was like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, let's just see, is Billy a runner? That's my question.
I mean, the real awkward part is the mural that says the house that Jamie lived in.
Yes.
That she has over her bed. That, I mean, maybe it makes him a little
Right.
uncomfortable.
Especially because she has to explain how to pronounce Jamie.
Just in parentheses next to the name. Phonetically spelled.
Phonetically with like
You
an
have to push
upside
a
down E. And it tells you the pronunciation.
It says it.
And we're learning endless lessons about what it means to love someone who has deeply loved someone else. Although Billy's grief is different from mine, because he wanted out, he has a marriage to mourn too. Like me, he has to contend with a past that was once full of promise and a future that will never be. Dating as a widow isn't easy. It's like I'm in a relationship with two men at once. Which sounds like a sitcom. My dead husband
Yes.
and my thankfully alive boyfriend.
Oh, I love that concept.
I think this was a movie, right? There's some movie where
the husband's a ghost.
Dead Again. Not Dead Again. Yeah, like the husband's a ghost.
Is it Topper?
It's not Topper. I do love Topper. No. Sometimes it feels as if I'm not able to love them the right way. I'm either not properly honoring the past or not fully living in the present. Sometimes, though, I relax and everything falls into place. I remember what it's like to love and to be loved, to be supportive and feel supported, and to care deeply for someone else, and to be wrapped in a caring and kindness in return. I've worried a lot about how people would respond to my relationship, but I've been buoyed by the encouragement I've received. I never knew how I would feel when you dated again, but I'm happy for you, Jamie's mom wrote me after I told her about Billy. Jamie loved you so much. He would want you to be happy again, and we want you to be happy again, which is extremely sweet and
Yeah.
lovely of that mother-in-law. When I'm in the throes of missing Jamie, I try to remind myself that my pain is a reflection of how much I loved him. And when I am swept away by my love for Billy, I think about the sobering fact that I may one day lose and grieve him too. It's all part of the agreement we make when we fall in love. People grieve deeply because they love deeply. There have been plenty of moments when I felt incredibly unlucky to have married and loved a wonderful man who would die so young. Lately, though, I feel incredibly lucky that I get the chance to do it all again.
What a lovely story.
It was pretty lovely, actually.
I mean, we were kind of hard on her.
Yeah, well, we're just trying to find the silliness.
We're just assholes, but
Yeah.
she's a nice lady, and
I mean,
I'm happy
31.
For her. Yeah,
A lot of people don't get married the first time before 31. So
no, honestly, it's good for her that happened. You're not supposed to be with somebody that young.
it's good for her that he died.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's too young to put your saddle on that horse for the rest. Hitch your. I don't know.
your saddle to
what's
that
the expression?
post.
Hitch your saddle.
You don't hitch a
Hitch your
saddle. Hitch your horse
Hitch your horse to that
post,
saddle.
But you don't hitch a saddle.
Oh, my
You
God.
place a saddle, no?
Hitch your wagon to that.
Yes.
Hitch your wagon.
to that horse. Horse to that wagon.
Hitch your horse to that wagon at 23.
Yeah.
That's too young to make a decision to spend the rest of your life with someone.
Yeah. So God made it for her.
Your brain isn't even done growing yet. Yeah, God was like, no, not him. Billy.
half marathon my ass.
Yeah.
All right.
Taking him out. We're you know what? I think I might be a terrible person.
No, you're just trying to make an entertaining podcast. That's
Am
all.
I? Or am I just being really a jerk?
No, I don't think so.
Everybody, let's take a poll.
Okay, let's put that up on the on one of our whatever.
I'll put it up on one of our whatevers, and we'll be right back.
Oh my God.
Fall is here, and if you want to sleep in the coziest bed imaginable, you have to start with Boll & Branch's best-selling 100% organic cotton sheets. You'll spend every night wrapped in buttery, breathable softness and feel your sheets get even softer with every wash. Discover the difference with Boll & Branch's 30-night guarantee. Plus, get 15% off and free shipping on your first set of sheets. Visit bollandbranch.com and use code WONDERY15. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
Canva presents a work love story like no other. Meet Productivity. She's all business.
The Canva doc is done.
Creativity is more of a free thinker.
Whiteboard brainstorm.
They're worlds apart, but sometimes opposites attract. Thanks to Canva.
The data is in the deck.
And now it's an animated graph.
Canva, where productivity meets creativity. Now showing on computer screens everywhere. Love your work at canva.com.
Welcome back to How to Survive, Danielle.
Kristine.
This is so weird because I wasn't expecting our guest to come in costume
Yeah, and who
as Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah, I know, it's so weird. Christine's Rhoda, and our
Rhoda.
guest is dressed up as Mary Tyler Moore. It was
No
really
one else
considerate
dressed
of
up. So this is nice.
you. Yeah, it's appreciative.
I do appreciate it.
I'm kind of dressed up.
I just threw a hat. I mean, that was
Yeah.
really what it was.
Right, and then we freeze
And by
framed
the
on
way,
you.
I turned the world on with a smile.
You did. You really did.
So that's really all you need to do. It's sort of it's a virtual costume.
In the first half of the show, we talked about how to survive losing your spouse.
Laugh riot.
Ha ha. And now we're going to talk about how...
Get ready.
Woohoo! How to survive losing a parent with Jon Hamm.
Heard of him much?
I have since I was born.
Right. Did you ever go by Jonathan?
I did. In
Johnny?
fact, it's rarely a Johnny, but a Jonathan. My family still calls me Jonathan. So my direct family, it's weird when they don't call me Jonathan. I don't know if anybody has that experience, but like if you have a diminutive of
Right.
your name, it's like and it really only my mother, who will be getting into later, was adamant that I be called Jonathan.
Yeah.
So in my whole grade school growing up and in learning how to write also, an 8-letter first name was
Yes.
a bummer.
Yeah.
Because it was, I mean, you know, when you're little and your hand like hurts from
Yes.
writing.
Yeah. You're like, wait, I'm still writing my first. I
Yeah,
can't go
still
into
going.
recess.
It's
still
12 letters
writing
all
my
in,
first
and this is rough, guys. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so she was adamant that I was to be called Jonathan, not John. And then when she passed away, and I sort of set out on my own, and I ended up changing schools and this and that. I think part of that was like, I just want to be Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm sounded better for whatever reason for my childhood name, and I found it much easier to write.
I do have to feel like I have to disclose something to you, John, which is that, and we did not know this when we came in. We just found this out in the break. There's a guy who works, you've probably heard about him before when you've been on Never Not Funny, but there's a guy who works in this building who is dressed as you today for Halloween. He did not know, he still doesn't know you're here. So it's not like...
He didn't know you were coming.
It's weird.
I forgot it
but
was
it's not-
Halloween.
Well, apparently,
Well, except for the Mary Tyler Moore thing.
except for the hat
set
that you
up
threw
earlier.
up in the air.
Indeed. A like funky poncho. You know, I feel like that was not to. Well, I first of all, I'd love to meet this guy, and I wonder.
Maybe we'll bring him
I
in.
would imagine he's not dressed as me. He's probably dressed as Don Drake.
No,
just
no.
me.
He's dressed apparently, right? You saw
He's
him.
dressed as you on an appearance of Never Not Funny. He's got
like
the
a shawl
picture
sweater?
printed out.
Wow.
One of the
Okay.
pictures.
Well, that's if that's your costume, you're going to need that picture.
Right?
See, this is me. This is what I'm
Wait
doing.
till you
This
see
is the
picture.
joke that I'm doing.
Yeah, it's
That is
We-
all right.
we may have to
now
bring
I
him in
really,
at some
now I
point.
really want to see this,
Yeah.
this outfit.
Yeah. He told us, I was like, well, did you tell him he's coming? He's like, no.
Should we pat him down to make sure he's not carrying a weapon
Packing.
first?
Yeah. Yeah. So I just thought you had to know that.
Well,
It's too amusing.
yeah, that is specific to say the least.
And-
But I'm flattered.
Yeah, you should be. I think so.
I think I should be flattered.
Yeah, I think flattery's the right feeling.
Yeah.
Not to tell you how to feel. Feel how you want.
I think I feel flattered. I think I do. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
I've
no.
come all this way. Why do I feel flattered?
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I have to ask you something because you're from St. Louis, yes?
Yes. Born and raised.
Okay. So we should get into your story.
Yeah,
Speaking
we
of
should.
childhood.
Speaking of childhood, so it's a perfect segue. Gosh, you're good at this.
Aren't I?
Because the reason
John, I have nothing else.
I think you have plenty. The reason I ended up going to this school, which is called John Burroughs School in St. Louis, Missouri, is because it was sort of my mom's dying wish. So my mother had gotten divorced from my dad when I was like 2, which was a very rare thing in highly Catholic St. Louis with my highly Catholic mother.
Okay.
In the 70s, the early 70s, in fact. So this would have been around 73.
Okay.
Picture Watergate.
Roe v. Wade just passed.
So many things. It's
Remember it well.
A fertile time
Yes.
in American history. But in a little town called St. Louis, Dan and Debbie Hamm got divorced. And and in fact, I didn't meet another kid in my social circles who had divorced parents until I was probably in 9th or 10th grade.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow.
So it was just not a thing.
Yes.
It was a thing in the culture.
Yeah.
See also
Do you think
Rhoda.
that was the Catholic
Right.
thing?
Oh, for sure.
Because I was like, same time period, my parents were divorced when I was very young, but lots of kids had divorced parents. So maybe it was
And where did you grow up?
Small town in Ohio.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. It was for me. It was just like, I guess St. Louis is highly Catholic.
I think it might be that.
And for sure,
Yeah.
it was in the culture. You know, there were sitcoms and Alice and Rhoda and all of these things, all of which my mom loved.
Right.
One
She's
day
like-
at a time.
She got it. She got the idea. She was like, I'm leaving.
Well, I mean, representation
Yeah.
matters, I guess, is what you could say. So my mother had in her sort of divorced group of friends, and my aunt, her younger sister, had moved to St. Louis from the small town that they grew up in called St. Genevieve. And they had this kind of fun little group of 20-somethings, and my mom was the only one with a kid. So I was sort of brought on with this and hanging out with these groups and listening to, cool music and which at that time would have been like the Doobie Brothers and like,
Absolutely.
Carole King, a lot of Carole King. So there was this one guy who was the cousin of my aunt's best friend, who is still my aunt's best friend, and he is still her cousin, who had gone to this school. And my mom was so impressed with this guy. He was worldly and smart, and he knew about art and music and opera and all of these things. And she was like, my mother from St. Genevieve, Missouri, population like at that point like 800, was like, who are you? You're like a crazy unicorn that knows all of these things. And he said, well, I went to this school, and you were encouraged to learn about a lot of these things. And he said, well, where was this school? And he said, John Burroughs School. And he said, well, that's where my son's going to go.
Wow.
Now, I was probably 5. I was not remotely close to going to this school. But the seed was planted in her mind, and then it was sort of transferred to and she would talk about it. Like, school's very important, and want you to be someone who is curious about education and experience. And as a single mom, she was very much putting me into whether it was Cub Scouts or activities, not only because those were awesome and that you could learn and experience things, but it was like she had to work. So it was
She
like,
had to put you somewhere.
need to go
exactly.
to class after school and things like that.
What was her education? Had she been
High school. She went to high school and then secretary school. She was a secretary.
Okay.
And so that was kind of our little 2-person existence for the first 10 years of my life.
Did you see your dad?
Every other weekend.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was
So it was one of those
classic,
kind of, like a classic divorced situation. And they were civil. There was not a, although I would come to learn in as I grew up, that, my dad wasn't maybe the best husband. There was a reason for the divorce.
Right.
It wasn't that they flipped a coin and were like, let's split up. But I was a kid when all of that went down. It wasn't like that was shared with me.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Probably, yes. I think there's a time and a place. And for me, it was when I was in my mid-20s and had adult conversations with more of my family.
Right.
And so my mother kind of raised me until I was pretty much 10 years old, and then she died. And she died very suddenly. She had what was diagnosed as colon cancer.
Oh my God.
That then metastasized throughout pretty much all of her internal organs, and it was a no-win situation.
That's so young.
35 years old.
Oh my God.
And kind of complained about a stomach ache at the beginning of the summer, and by the end of the summer was dead.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Jesus.
So it was obviously devastating.
Yeah.
To a
of course.
10-year-old boy, and
She was your whole world.
pretty much. And Patton talks about when he lost his wife suddenly like that. It's like a blast crater. It's just this void that cannot be filled because the ground is melted, and you just have to kind of deal. And so talking about how to survive something like that is one thing, and then the second, I think, part of the experience is how to actually get past it and thrive. Surviving it is you just put one foot in front of the other and you keep going.
Right.
And in fact, in the early 80s at this point, when my mother passed away, and again, this is the first time I'd seen like my dad lose it crying, my grandparents gone, all of, just emotionally bereft.
Yeah.
My aunts, all the adults in my life are completely emotionally
Right.
raw. And
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, this is like, what's happening?
And it's not a time period where you're seeing a lot of emotion. I mean, I can't speak for your family, but it wasn't like a huge emotional outpouring.
You were not encouraged to share
of time.
a lot.
Yeah.
Right. So to see your dad cry is a big deal.
And you really don't have, as a 10-year-old or even as a participant in this, you don't really have any place to put it. So you don't know what to do. And there's not a dedicated mental health professional there to help you through it. There's, in my world, there was the Catholic priest. Not exactly the best person to go to for this.
Did he try to help you?
No, because I also was like, my mother was very Catholic, and I went to all the Catholic schools and did all the stuff, but I never got
Wasn't
it.
your bag.
Yeah.
I just never got it. I was like, I don't get this. This is not helpful to me. It's not resonating in my world. I would rather do literally anything else on a Sunday than go to church.
Right.
And so after my mom died, my dad was like, well, I guess we got to go to church, right? And I was like, do we though? Because there's football on and it's like cold.
Yeah.
And we could probably just stay home and like light a fire and eat, sandwiches.
Yeah. So you moved in with him.
So I moved in with my dad after my mom. But
And was he remarried or anything?
he was not remarried.
Okay.
He was sort of terminally single, and so it was that process was sort of a really just looking wherever you could for a foothold in any kind of routine or helpful reality of any sense. Because there was no guidebook. In fact, there was a guidebook. I was given a book from the woman at the hospital that literally was called What to Do When a Parent Dies.
Jesus Christ.
And it was a very thin book. And it had sort of a somber picture and a sepia tone on the cover.
Like
I
a
can very much
sad
remember
kid.
this book, which I dutifully read. And it was not helpful. I mean, there's no... I'm sure that book was written with all of the best intentions.
Right.
But unless there's somebody kind of working it with you, it's really not that helpful.
No.
Is it like keep up your hygiene?
I honestly don't remember what it
Eat your
even
fruits
said.
and vegetables.
Other than, like, obviously this is a hard time, and it's like, these are things I get all that.
Right.
But sort of, so what ends up happening is you kind of, at least what ended up happening for me, because I was so young, and that was my first experience with any kind of idea of permanence or death or anything like that. And it was someone that was so close to me.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing that could happen.
Is that you kind of just go into survival mode. So you go, okay, these are the things that I have to accomplish. And for me, what I really glommed onto was the structure of school and friendship. And the school that I ended up going to, this school from 7th through 12th grade, was a highly structured environment. I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. I usually didn't leave until around 5 or 6.
Oh, wow.
So it was a long day because you had school till 3 and then after school stuff, which was athletics or theater or whatever it was.
Right. You did
clubs. And
baseball,
whatnot.
right?
I had baseball, football, swimming, theater. I signed up
holy
for
shit.
You just did
everything.
everything. Keep busy.
To keep busy, really.
Yeah.
But so the problem with that is, and it's a great survival mechanism. But the problem is that you're not really accessing the emotional truth of the fact that this person is no longer there.
Right.
And so that is a wound or a trauma or however you want to describe it that doesn't get unwound for some time. And then for me, we're still dealing with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you kind of manage it however you manage it, really. And so you seek out, at least I sought out, any kind of structure that your parents would. And the coda to this story is that my father died when I was 20. So I finished my school, graduated, and then went off to college. In my first year of college, my dad died. So that was, kind of the second blow
My
of
God.
like, now what? Now I'm sort of really bereft.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's the great thing about all of this, and it's really the kind of, if I can impart anything to anybody listening that goes through something like this, it's that people in your life appear, and they will sort of answer the call. And for me, I had 3 families that are still very present in my life. They were all at my wedding, that kind of stepped up in a real parental way. That obviously it wasn't like I wasn't adopted by them or any sort of official capacity. But there was a real sense of, this is a kid who's a kid still and needs something.
Support.
Needs guidance, support, help. And the real lesson, if there is one, is, and I accomplished this sort of unconsciously, really, is to accept that and not be, I'm fine, I can handle it. I'm an island, I can deal with it, because that just reinforces that knot of protective kind of tissue that's surrounding that real trauma. My aunt just sent me a couple months ago a box of stuff that she had kept for my mom that I get these every now and again, these sort of keepsakes that people dig up from, when they're cleaning out a room. Like, God, I saved this for you, and I meant to send it. It was this box. I remember the box. I always have sense memory of all of these things. Oh, my God, I remember that. I knew exactly where that was. But inside of it was my mom had created this thing literally out of whole cloth, a costume for my first grade play, which was Winnie the Pooh. Oh. So I had a little hood with ears on it and little mittens that were yellow, whatever, and a little shirt, the red shirt on top of it. So she sewed me this costume, and the costume was in this box.
Oh my
God!
God!
I can't believe the hood and the gloves. The rest of it is lost to history. I forgot what you were asking me.
Well, I was just asking how well you can remember when you only have had 10 years with your mom, how much you can remember.
Not much is really the thing. And you think, well, am I a bad person because I don't remember this stuff?
Right.
And it's, part of it is like, I'm 52 now. Like it was a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still have very lucid, very clear memories. And I've also had, what I can only imagine are sort of deep subconscious sort of pulls from when I've had sort of inflection points in my life, one of which was going to college, and one of which was moving to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So like these kind of big things that I was clearly like wrestling with in my mind, I remember the night before each of those moments, so the night before I got in the van and drove to college with all my stuff, and the night before I got in my own car that was packed with all my stuff and drove out to California. Both of those nights, my mom came to me in a dream. Like I had a wildly lucid emotionally laden dream.
Yeah.
Where it was a real conversation with my mom, and she was like, "You're going to be fine. This is what you need to do." All of that stuff, and I woke up completely emotional and like sobbing, just like, whoa, it was like so real. And so that's always like the thing I take away with when I like don't remember or can't remember. Like there are moments when I will have just these visceral pulls from that time in my life. And most recently I got married. Over the summer.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was all me.
Yeah. You willed it.
I willed it into existence. I forced her to get
Well,
married to me.
you have one of those vision boards, right?
You cut her
One.
picture out. Put it on the vision board.
Yeah. No.
Pictures of cakes.
My aunt brought me. My mom had this like charm bracelet that she wore. And this is I know they're kind of fashionable now, but they're very tiny now. In the old days, they were like
so chunky.
They were big, chunky, kind of almost coins.
They're weapons.
And it made a noise, and I remember everything about it. And I loved my mom wore it every day, and it was just this big. And she was a typist. I was like, doesn't it get in the way, like this giant thing? Whatever. She also had long fingernails, so like she could do it. But she had one of the charms on it just said more, M-O-R-E, and it was in diamonds or fake diamonds or whatever, but it was spelled out. And then on the back it said, no one else can love you.
Oh my God!
More.
Jesus Christ!
And that was a song. It was a big song. It was an Academy Award-winning song, and but that was for me. And so my aunt gave me that at my wedding, and I was like, I remember this, like this. So that part of it is important also when you talk about how to survive or how to thrive when something as devastating as this happens.
Right.
Is that you maintain that memory and that love and that place, and you tend to it.
Right.
You don't shut it off and you don't ignore it, which I did for the first 10, 15 years after, to just survive.
Yeah.
I didn't want to think about my mom.
It's
I didn't want to think
protective,
about the loss.
right?
I didn't want to. All I wanted to do was get through the day. All I wanted to do was get A's. All I wanted to do was make all-state football. All I wanted to do was achieve. And had I had somebody that knew what was up, that was a third party coming in and observing this, it would have been helpful, obviously.
Right.
But it would have been, I think I wouldn't be dealing with what I'm dealing with in my life over the last 15, 20 years.
Right.
Which is, a cavalcade of stuff that you displace and you kind of use and medicate and whatever the stuff is. So it's the advice is to sort of not let that calcify,
Right.
Yeah.
but keep it kind of loose and a muscle that you can activate when you want to remember the place that person held in your life.
Right.
And that is, I think, the best advice is to keep the ember tended and not let it,
Right.
go out really. Which is again not holding a shrine and kind of doing that. It's more about remembering who this person was to you and what they gave to you and what you can then give to the world and in their memory. And I do that with both my parents, who were wildly different human beings, like and gave me wildly different, kind of skill sets. And I had completely different experiences with over the course of my first 20 years of existence. But I hold both of them in deep reverence in my heart and my emotions, because I understand that like that's what parents are, know, in the best way. I mean, obviously some people don't have positive experiences with their parents, but I did, even though they left too soon.
Did your dad also die suddenly?
My dad died, no, the opposite of suddenly. So he was very, very ill. He had diabetes and emphysema. So he kind of dwindled over the course of the better part of like 3 years. He started dialysis, and that's not something you kind of unstart.
Right.
That doesn't
Right.
get better.
Yeah.
And had lived a very unhealthy life for a long time. And so it caught up to him. And it's funny, I look at pictures of my dad who, 1933, 91, he would have been 58 when he died. He did not look 58.
He looks way older.
Yeah. It was like one of those things that was like, whoa, that's a lot of miles on that road.
Right.
And, you know, part of it was the times that he grew up in and what he did for a living. He was our family ran a trucking company. So he ran the trucking company until we sold it in the 80s. And then he kind of just worked random jobs here and there. And it was, and again, it was, part of it was that he had a life that was devastated by 2 tremendous losses.
Yeah.
Both of his wives died.
Jesus.
And, you know, there was no safety net. There was no, you know, in St. Louis in the 60s and early 70s, the solution was drink
Yeah.
and suck it up.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no go to a therapist and talk about your feelings.
Especially as a man.
Especially as a man, and especially as a man in the industry that he was in. It was like, you know, suck it up, deal with it.
So so that sort of leads me to my next question, which is, I'm guessing he wasn't having heart-to-hearts with you after your mom died.
He did his best.
Yeah.
He didn't have the vocabulary. He didn't have the capacity. He didn't have the roadmap. There was no, you know, he needed a book.
Right.
As much as I needed a book, you know, and it was, that's the blast crater of it all, is that it doesn't just affect those people that it immediately affects. It affects everybody in your circle, you know, your friends and your you know, extended family and how people treat you and everything. He said,
right.
Oh, you know, I don't want to say anything because I feel like I might say the wrong thing, and I've learned over the course of my life now, and seeing friends also lose parents, some very suddenly. I always say this to my friends who go through this. I said, there's never a good time.
Right.
There really isn't. Some are better than others. If your dad is 95 and he lived a good long life and he went out on his own terms, that's better.
Yeah.
But it still sucks that you don't have your dad or your mom or fill in the blank. I had a very good friend out here, adult, maybe 10, 15 years ago, whose dad died suddenly. And his dad was a very huge presence in his life. And it was an accident, just an accidental death. So it was one of those things where the phone rings and you go, yeah, what's up? What?
Wow.
And it, you know.
That I can't imagine either.
Same thing,
Yeah.
blast crater. You go, fuck, okay, well, there's no good way to do this. So, I now know that the worst thing you can do is nothing. So you say, I'm here, you know, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to.
Right.
You know, you reach out and say something.
Right.
Because nothing you can, if it's nothing, you fill in the blank with, oh, they don't want to talk to me, or I'm, you know, it's too hard to talk.
It's too awkward.
It's too awkward. It's this, that, and all of the things that go through your head that are usually not the case.
Right.
I always just, now, having gone through what I've gone through and seeing friends and understanding what they go through, and I know you've suffered a tremendous loss about that, and it's like there's you have to put yourself in the position of being helpful, even if, and let them, you know, let them know the door is open.
Yeah.
So that's the best way.
Yeah. When my brother died, I was very lucky. I had, you know, a lot of good friends. Kristine was there when I found out because we were working together at the time. And, it's, I kept going to work, and everyone was like, why are you here? And I'm like, because I can't face my kid. Like, I have a 2-year-old and I can't go and look at him right now, so I'm just gonna keep working.
There's no playbook.
Yeah.
There's no rule book. There's nothing. You kind of, part of that is exactly what I was saying too, right? You crave the structure of the day.
Yep.
Work.
Right.
You got to get done what's in front of you. And that's tremendously helpful.
Absolutely.
But the second part of it is also you have to address the loss, really, because, and I'm not trying to make this about your brother or your experience either, but they are similar. And if you don't address the loss, that's when it starts to calcify, and then you can't. It takes a lot longer to go back in there and unravel and undo all of the protective tissue that you've had kind of form over that thing. I'm still doing it.
I'm sure
it's a big topic in my when I go talk to my therapist. It's really,
I can only imagine. I mean,
it seems like that is a lifetime job to undo that loss. Like, no matter what.
It can't, it can be. I don't want to describe it as like a sentence, because it's really not. It's a challenge. But life's a challenge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's a difficult thing in theory, right? Because you hear about it happening and you go, God, I don't know, what would I do? And nobody, and you don't know until you are forced to go through it.
Yes.
But when you're forced to go through it, you do find that people appear in your life to help you, and your job is to accept that help and to say, okay, I'm not bigger than this problem. The problem is a human problem.
Right.
It's not a John problem or a Danielle problem. It's a human problem. It's a difficult thing to manage. And so it's so that help is required. And it's not a sign of weakness in any sense of the word to say, man, I could use an ear, or I could use a shoulder, or I could use anything at this particular moment. It is to survive that, and then to learn how to thrive again after that loss. And then also, I think there's something to it too, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but to really hold those people in the place that they exist. I'm sure you have this with your brother, where you hold the memory of him as something that empowers you, that you love.
And I still, like you were saying, I still dream about him. I think I dreamt about him last night. It's not often. It's been a long time. It's not often, but I do think I dreamt about him last night. And it is, sometimes at the very beginning it was disturbing. The dreams were disturbing. Now it's like, oh, I got to visit with Andrew last night. It's kind of like...
Yeah.
And sometimes I think about, like, what would he think about what's going on? Or I don't know if you do that with your mom or your success. I mean, that must be heady.
That's the one that I really, both my parents, I really wish I could celebrate that with them.
Yeah.
And again, the placeholder for that, or the replacement feeling of that, is that I do have these other families that really have a filial pride with my success and what I've been able to do in my career, and that gives me
that's so great
the joy that I can never have that with my parents, because I can't. But
but they get to see that.
But some there's a connection to that to that world, and every now and again I'll get a note from maybe my aunt or one of I call them my surrogate moms, but they'll just say, your dad would have been so proud of you, and your mom would have been so proud of you, and it's always like, okay, yeah, you're right. It's nice to hear that from a third party.
That's so
who knew
great.
them and who knows you and has known you for so long.
Exactly.
Because that's the stuff that it's like, I think that really matters. It's like when something good happens for you, it's the people you think of that it's their reactions that matter.
Right.
Like for me, it's like my kids.
Yeah.
It's like that's who I want to make proud.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, now as an adult, when something good happens in my life, professionally even, I'm just like, I can't wait to tell my kids. You know, like
totally.
You think of those people.
The feedback is important, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. None of us do anything in a vacuum.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's not just about getting in front of an audience, but life is lived in a communal sense, you know? None of us are structured to live through this experience solo.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, you know, you have to be married or
No, but you gotta
in a relationship or anything. It's
right.
just that you do need to understand and engage with a community.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think that's what, if we're talking, you know, zooming out into the macro sense of where we are politically, culturally in anything, is that we've lost the sense of a real sense of community.
Yeah.
And we've accepted the silo that social media is designed to keep us in.
Yeah.
So do you create your own community? I'm assuming you have lots of, or a good group of tight friends.
I have a pretty good group out here, and Jimmy and this whole crowd is a big part of that too. And I find myself being asked to sort of mentor kids that come out here a lot from either my high school or my college or theater program or whatever. It's like, and I always do it. I'm just like, I'll meet you for coffee. I'll give you my 5 tips on how to deal with LA. But like the first couple are always like, get a job and find a group of friends. Like, get a community that you can plug into, whether it's your acting class or your
waiting job,
waiting tables job, or you know, find a community, volunteer, like understand that there is something larger than just you. And for me, that was like, I got out here, I got a job waiting tables, I volunteered at Project Angel Food. I just did stuff that got me out of the house,
right?
Gave me some structure, and I could make a little money, and then I met people, and so then you understand. And again, this was in the '90s, so it was before cell phones, or at least before I had a cell phone. I had a beeper from a J&J, the Beeper King.
For auditions, you had a beeper,
auditions that I did not get,
right?
But you know, you have to establish. You have to break the macro into the manageable. So LA, when I first got here and I was given a Thomas guide, it was like, here's the map of the city. I was like, it's like yellow pages. Are you kidding me? It's like, I could sit on this and, you know,
that Thomas
see
guide
over the wheel now. It was so unwieldy and unmanageable. And then you kind of understand as you go through it, you're like, oh, I only really need 3 pages of this whole thing. It's like the West Hollywood page, the Valley page, and kind of like the Santa Monica page.
Once you figure out San Vicente, you're fine.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
But it's a funny thing. And so you go, oh, that's a good lesson. Like, break it down into chewable, kind of manageable parts. And that's part of it too. Is find a community that you can. I mean, I think you see it, whether it was UCB or you know, I stumbled into that because the comedy world, and I had never wanted to do stand up. I never was planned on doing stand up. I understood the skill set that stand ups needed, and I didn't have it, and I didn't want to pursue it.
Right.
But I loved.
Well, bless you for not wanting to pursue something you knew you didn't have.
Trust me, I had plenty of friends that I was like, maybe there's something better that you could do with your time, because this is not it.
Right.
And I will only go to no more shows.
Right. I don't want to hear the word bringer again in my life.
One woman show.
And I certainly went to my fair share of those, and you know, whatever, like you support all this stuff.
Yes.
But I just knew that was not for me, but I really liked going. And so in the old days at Largo, and you would meet people. And when I was going to Largo, it was like Sarah Silverman, you know, Doug Benson, Scott Aukerman, the Mr. Show gang, Tenacious D, Zach, Janine, you know, and even getting back to like the Beth Lapidus Uncabaret days of like seeing people that I'd seen on TV and like, they're right there, like, and I'm in the audience, and I'm kind of part of this experience. This is why I came out to LA is to be a part of the experience. Now I'm in the audience. Now I'm watching.
Right.
In 2 years, I'm going to be in the green room talking to these people because I became friends and like whatever.
Right.
And cut to 20 years later, I'm going to be a peer and working with Jimmy Garofalo on Wet Hot or Sarah on whatever and Zach and you know, and like that. That's how I mean, for want of a better word, sort of manifested. I chose that to be it's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And I set about to try to make it happen.
And it doesn't have to be with famous people.
No, it does not.
But yeah, you have to find whoever your group is. And I mean, yes, obviously.
And to put a button on it, that is the circle of life. You if you go through a loss, if you go through these things, it is not it is while the loss itself is permanent, the feeling of that loss isn't. And you will always have that wound. Mm-hmm. It will not always be as immediate as it feels in the moment.
Right.
And life works to create more life. And so your experience as you move forward and move on is to find, replacement is the wrong word, but people that take the place of that person, whether they're a mentor or a parental figure in your life or a teacher or what have you. I was a teacher. And the reason I became a teacher was because the teachers in my life were so important to me. Two of my teachers came to visit my mom in the hospital when she was very briefly in the hospital. But they've always been important people in my life. And that's why I wanted to become a teacher, was because I was like, well, I can't donate a wing to this school, but I can certainly give of my time and my experience as, at that point, a freshly minted theater graduate.
Did you teach at the school you went to?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's
in
great.
fact, Ellie Kemper was one of my students.
That's right. I've heard that.
That's
amazing.
So, that kind of closed that circle, and I felt very accomplished by doing that, and that gave me the kind of wherewithal and understanding of like, okay, I think I have some sort of capacity to give back to the community that gave so much to me, and I can then, kind of perpetuate that. And standing on stage with Ellie at the 100th anniversary of the school was a nice kind of button on that.
I can imagine
that journey as well. Yeah.
Well, not to sound too cliched,
do it,
but I do think your mom would be really, really proud of you.
I think so too, and I'm it makes me very happy to know that people feel that way.
Yeah.
It makes me very happy to know that. Look, I was talking about this with some friends the other day too, of like, in the sliding doors world of getting through life as a orphan, there were a lot of lefts that I went right that could have been the wrong choice in the choose your own adventure of life, where you get to the page and it's just an empty cave with skeletons on it. You're like, let's go back. So I've been lucky too.
Shout out to the mentors you had. I think that certainly
the teachers and
the parents, all of that.
It's a big help, and if it's anything, that if anybody takes anything away from this, it's to be that person to somebody. If you find yourself in the position where someone represents needing help or guidance in any way, do it.
Yeah.
It helps you. It helps them.
Absolutely, it does.
It's a tremendous experience, and it is the rising tide that lifts all of the boats.
Jon, thank you so much. This has been really fantastic.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, I know. I was a little nervous to sort of bring up the topic, but I thought, well, it could be fun.
Well, it's really nice because everyone, as you said, can relate at some point or another.
Right.
And it's also nice to hear you, talk about something so meaningful to you and so
not the stuff I break
personal.
out on talk shows.
You don't think this would be good on Fallon? Maybe you could make a game out of it. Maybe you could guess how your mom
Beer
died or
pong
something.
grief therapy.
Yeah.
If anyone could do it, he could.
Yeah. I just watched a clip of Matt LeBlanc on Fallon at some point, and Matt LeBlanc got to punch him at the end, slap him. So I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. They were arguing about how many claps were in the theme song. In the Friends theme song.
Yeah.
And then Matt LeBlanc just slaps him in the face. It was pretty fantastic. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you for having
This has
me.
been really lovely.
It was great. It was very moving.
What a lovely Halloween.
Yes,
what a lovely way to spend Halloween.
I can't think of a better way.
And we'll be right back with What Did We Learn Today?
Make this new school year an opportunity for your kids to learn important life skills with Greenlight. Greenlight is a debit card and money app for families where kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely while parents keep an eye on kids' money habits. Greenlight also helps families get into their fall routine with a chores feature that lets parents assign chores and pay kids' allowance when they check them off. Get your first month free at greenlight.com/Wondery. Greenlight.com/Wondery.
This episode is sponsored by AutoTrader. There's a good chance you're driving right now. Look around. Safely. What do you see? Cars. Lots of them. And guess what? They're probably on AutoTrader. Whether you're into timeless classics or the latest trends. Did somebody say solar-powered, eco-friendly, vegan, leather-wrapped, aromatherapy-scented, disco ball-equipped, self-driving car? If you see it on the road, you can likely find it on AutoTrader. Big cars, small cars, blue cars, new cars, used cars, electric cars, and one day, maybe even flying cars. With millions to choose from, buying a car becomes a whole lot easier. See it, find it, AutoTrader. Find your next car on autotrader.com.
Kristine, are you ready to learn what we learned today?
So ready.
How many children have actually been seriously injured or died as a result of tampered candy? The answer, given the available data on the topic, not a single one.
Oh.
See, it was all just, I wonder, why would someone start that though? What did they get out of it? Or maybe it's one of those things where it had some kernel of truth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to look that
some
legend
candy
up.
kernel.
Candy corn kernel.
The length of time someone grieves will depend on you, your circumstances, and the type of significant loss you've experienced. On average, normal grief can last anywhere from 6 months to 2 years or more.
Or your whole life.
Okay. Barbra Streisand is 81. Her husband, James Brolin, is 83.
Okay.
So they're very close in age.
Nice matchup.
Yeah. In March 2013, Brolin began dating his former assistant and model. Oh, this is Josh Brolin.
Okay,
we're
great.
talking about
That's
now.
what I want to know.
His former assistant and model, Catherine Boyd. They became engaged in 2015. The couple married in September of 2016 and announced on May 2018 that they were expecting their first child. Okay.
Diane's like, of course he did.
Yeah.
They're both. She's from in the Outsiders, right? No.
Yeah.
But is he? Was he in the Outsiders too?
Not that I'm aware of, but
He was in Goonies.
yeah, he's the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was one of the bad guys in Outsiders because I was like, oh, that'd be so weird if then so many years later they got married.
Sometimes surviving is just putting one foot in front of the other. That's what it is.
Sometimes that's just life.
That's life. That's what people say.
Wow. We learned a lot.
We did learn a lot today.
You know what? This was a very special episode.
It was a very special episode. We should end on some a freeze frame with some really sad music.
Well, I'm gonna go home and write. I'm gonna go home and learn how to play my guitar that I've had for about 15 years and have not learned a single note.
Me too.
I'm gonna learn a sad song, just so we have it.
Sounds good
for this episode. Guys, check out our Patreon.
Yes,
you don't even know the episode you're not listening to right now because
you don't know the episode you're not listening to
because you're not on Patreon, and it's got the full extended version of our
Right.
conversation with Jon,
Right.
which is really magical. And Danielle and I were wiping away tears.
Yeah,
so
it was extremely touching
and just enjoying it so much. I can't wait to talk to you guys again. This was so fun.
I can't wait to talk to you, but it will just only have to wait a week.
I know,
Not
but
too
sometimes the waiting is the hardest part.
Tom Petty told us that,
and he was right.
Yeah, And then he died.
I know, which is so sad.
I know.
Remember the tribute that Stevie Nicks did for him?
Yes, Kristine was in a puddle.
I was such a puddle at that show.
Yeah.
Man. Anyway.
All right. Until next time. Remain calm.